Okay, you're live. Sorry for no Q&A again in these streams. I I wanted to do this video on like Tuesday and I didn't. So then I did the boot review and I thought, well, I better give that one some oxygen and see how many views it gets before I mess with it possibly in the algorithm. But since hardly nobody's watched it, then whatever. I'll just do this and get it over with. And I don't know if I don't have any more planned installments, but I have like 15 pages here still, so another potentially way too long of a video. Today's theme is, do smart men marry sluts? So you can probably already kind of figure out that answer. Oh, sorry, I did this out of order. Coming to you live from a burning warehouse in Boyle Heights, because that's still going on as far as I know. And then I was thinking about those novels that had titles like stuff like Shadows on the Prairie, but I didn't write a thing. Part of this, I'm going to come back to it later. Sorry, I'm all stuffed up all of a sudden. Why can't I think of his name? Alexander Grace did a video about other stuff, but at the end he mentioned the trad wife thing. Now, he was talking about how this looks like to him it's another internet trend that's just an aesthetic thing and has nothing to do with like real people, more wealthy women who can afford to quit their careers and just live off their husbands or whatever. And that might be the case. I'm not entirely sure. Excuse me one second. Hopefully I'll sound less stuffy now. As soon as I turn on the camera, it's always something. And a couple of episodes ago, episode 6 maybe, it's been a while, I mentioned that I wanted to talk about that stuff in a future episode, and it might not be an episode of specifically this. So now it's going to get sandwiched in this anyway. Even though it is nothing really to do with companies like Tinder and Hinge and Bumble and all that. And, but he was talking about like a toxic gal versus the date, or I was going to talk about toxic current gals versus the dating in the 50s reality. He had showed a video in a previous, or a film, an old Scholastic film or whatever in a previous episode, and I talked about that briefly. But yeah, so these feminists of today like to lie about historical facts. That's one of their claims to fame, is distorting reality, because some of the things they say, like my own mom is like, no, I had a bank account. What are they talking about? No, I could rent an apartment when I was, single. What are they talking? They don't live in reality because they weren't born yet. And they've seen too many episodes of Mad Men. So they lie about traditional marriage functions and that kind of thing. But how that relates to what he's talking about is a different thing, because that, I think, is a word that, or a phrase that can kind of be used however you want. Because does trad wife mean, wearing an apron and churning butter all day, to a woman in a penthouse who wants to dress like it's the 50s and, just not work and may still not have any children? Or when I think of trad wife or traditional marriage, more to the point, I mean, both of my grandmothers basically did that. They both had about 8 kids, most of them girls, like 5 girls each. They both were kind of farmy, not, they weren't churning butter, but they definitely weren't living in Manhattan and, drinking martinis all day. In fact, one was a Protestant teetotaler, and the other one was like the Catholic version. So, obviously our economy style has changed since then. Alex Grace was discussing how, blue collar women kind of have to work now, blah, blah, blah. And that was stuff that Tinder gal had said, I think, in the previous, or maybe it's in this one. I thought she had said something about, I think it was the last episode where I already read about, you need at least $300,000 for one partner to not have to work or whatever. And, I hadn't run the numbers or whatever, but obviously that math is not accurate for everybody in the whole country or even the whole world or whatever. Obviously, people who aren't yuppie, bougie, well-off, single spinsters get by with children and less money than, same as how less attractive women than her are already married and happy. So it's not impossible if you actually like men and that kind of thing. But of course, Tinder gal, we already know she lies about what is a traditional marriage anyway, because she claims that she was like bullied into one by her church, which we know is not true, because in her own interview or whatever, she had already said that they had already lost their virginity before they got married. She wasn't pregnant, so it wasn't a shotgun wedding, and her own father said no to the marriage. So there's nothing traditional about that. When your dad tells you don't marry the putz and you run off and elope with him anyway, that's nothing traditional about that. The husband didn't work. He made her work and played video games and got high all day or something, which she does also. So why it's bad when he does it, only because she had to work and he didn't. There's nothing traditional about that. So again, we've covered this already, but we're going to come back to it. Kind of like if you win an award for like your drag queen story hour thing, it just proves that you're the best of the worst. It doesn't mean you're actually good. Let's see. Cries because, mom not there. Well, yeah, because you ran off and did it without them after they told you not to. So again, the opposite of the pregnant and the parents want the opposite of outcome of what she. Sorry, my own notes here are terrible. Stay single. So anyway, well, yeah, like I said, they want to pretend they're oppressed, but really, you just had a working class upbringing and bad taste in men that has nothing to do with what's traditional and religious or otherwise. There was some more on that soon enough, like I said. Okay. A lot of times I hear about something and then it turns out that it sort of may mostly mean something else. Like I said, what she's talking about that she opposes is not what he was showing necessarily, because that would be women in more or less the same age bracket or age and wealth, more so what I meant to say, wealth bracket than as her, who can afford to quit their jobs. She just doesn't want to quit her job. Because as she said in a previous episode, if she gets dumped, she wants to make sure she's self-sufficient. Okay, but there's nothing traditional about that. So just because that's yours doesn't mean that every other woman has to agree with you on the entire planet. Let's see, go in circles, description. I think a couple of these pages I can skip, so that'll save us some time. A bunch of stuff against religion or traditional religion. Obviously, people just like to pick and choose what they find in the Bible or whatever. This episode, I don't have any stuff with Tanya, so if Tanya is your jam, then you'll have to go back and watch the previous one and the one 2 times ago or whatever. Stuff about like the church says, that men don't like women who've been around very much when they get married. And so we have this single woman, well over 30, what I call a spinster still, arguing that, yes, they do. Okay, well, then why did all the smart, sane, straight ones run off and marry somebody else already then? Apparently they find you repellent and run away, as we've covered plenty of times before, that, her idea of a long relationship is 6 or 8 months or something. And apparently now gaining weight too. We'll get into that maybe. So yeah, they all run away. Born a Catholic, but apparently just raised to be trashy, I guess. I don't know, because some stuff about original sin. I don't know. I'm skipping all the details here. Again, now, different denominations have different. I'm not really familiar with all the Protestant ones, so some of them are more progressive, and others are, I don't know what. I think my grandma was Seventh-day Adventist or whatever, so she wasn't drinking martinis and popping pills or whatever the stereotype is. None of that going on, and definitely blamed the military for kind of turning her sons into alcoholics. I think I talked about this before. A couple of them I think were in the Korean War. My dad, of course, being the youngest, so he was almost a totally different generation at that point, I guess. Let's see. Oh, okay. Yeah. Like I said, the stance here is that the men will want me, and in the comments, all the guys agreeing with her are guys who are clearly never going to marry her. They're all just chads coming out of the woodwork. Like I said, no sane, smart one has showed their head yet in the last 10 or 12 years or whatever. But this was another post about money, and I thought it was odd contradictions going on and stuff. I'm not going to get into all of it. Lifestyle argument that depends upon the guys and the gals. I guess Elon Musk had said, and they all hate Elon Musk now for one reason or another. I don't really have much of an opinion about the guy, except that he's really rich and I'm not. Okay. But he was saying no girl will choose six-pack over 6 cars. Six-pack meaning physical fitness, not, drinking beers for lunch. So many... so he said, stop going to the gym and go to work. Well, of course, many of those men do go to work. They don't live in the gym. So I don't know what he's exactly trying to say. If you have a fat wallet, you'll attract more women, I guess. I don't know that that's entirely true. Because I see many women who want brawn over brains, but then they get the broke guy and the guy in the jail and the codependent loser relationship situation. Again, a lot of and also a lot of women with less, again, money than these people who have successful relationships also. So there's no necessarily one size fits all answer that I'm trying to push here. The premise of these videos, again, this one going a little bit more far afield than specifically about dating apps. Yeah, there's some back and forth with commenters, and Tinder gal comes in and has 3 laughed whilst cry emojis as usual. Because I guess this guy is trying to pretend like he gets over on rich men all the time, and just sounds more like a D-bag than someone she would endorse. But again, she's a hypergamist, I don't know, moron, hypocrite, because most of the rich men are Democrats anyway, from what I've heard, and many of them no longer want to be married either. And I don't know that Elon Musk is exactly conservative or traditional in any way, shape, or form. So she says, it's total non sequitur theater here, but I'll just read it word for word. The way I've allowed broke men to devastate me is something I am truly embarrassed about. I quit when my girlfriends were like, seriously? It's not abs that do it for me, though. It's creativity. I don't know that that's entirely true. Again, we don't have names and dates and photos for all the guys, and there's apparently been a lot of them. But if that's true, yeah, how's your search for a husband been going lately then? Still a spinster, still insisting that, the religion people are the problem. So then again, with the no one size fits all argument, Zach here comes back and says, of my friends, the broke ones are the only ones I'd ever recommend to my girlfriends. Again, in the last episode or the two ago, I forget, we pondered why doesn't she fix up all her single loser girlfriends if she's so great at matchmaking? And of course, she hasn't been able to do that either. The broke ones are the only ones I'd ever recommend to my girlfriends. This argument is silly, and having money or not is just an easy weapon to use against men. So Elon Musk is making the argument, or she's making, I'm not really sure. I think he's attacking Elon Musk here. It's boring. Abs require a lot of creativity, actually. Like creatively not hanging out with bums at bars every night, but what the F do I know? No question mark. WTF. So yeah, again, I don't entirely agree with Elon Musk's statement. But I do think it is easier to attract women when you have money than when you don't, and when you have abs as well. I think both of those things can be true. I think it's just how you carry it or whatever. But here was where she misses the point again and proves that she's, I don't know, an alcoholic 304, I guess. I'm trying to cut weight so I look better, and I have to creatively have the self-control not to snack. There's nothing creative about that, but okay. You just need to snack on broccoli or something instead. I didn't eat croutons on my salad today, even though I love croutons. Okay, I don't think like 6 little bits of crust is going to make that much of a difference. But then laugh emoji, respect to those with abs, even though apparently she doesn't date them or find them irresistible. Yeah, right. Then he says, eat the croutons. You're a baddie. I guess baddie meaning tough guy type of baddie, not baddie being self-destructive, which she totally is. Yeah, I'm going to skip the rest of this, but says grew a cute word for big butt. But now I have a tummy, no carbs for a month. This week, my friends and I got a pizza, and I just ate the top part and gave them the bread part. I'm a monster. Well, she's already had an eating disorder, so I guess the plan might be to go anorexic again, or bulimia, or whatever it was. I don't know. But yeah, so your caboose is your big fat butt, and you're not even a mother with children who has an excuse for a big butt. So Zach says, if you turn down croutons, you're a weirdo. No comma there. And then laugh till cry emoji. And she says, I'm a weirdo anyway. I agree, but not in a good way. So there's that, you bipolar loon commie spinster, right? So then he had a new post that I just thought was interesting. He put, y'all want loyalty, but you won't date a broke man. Ain't a man on earth gonna stand by your side longer than one who can't afford to move. So once again, he's trying to be funny. And that was her case. Yeah, the guy did not want to move out. Again, not a traditional marriage at all. Just a very convenient one for him. Talkvid. Okay, so yeah, the church says that, nobody wants a half-eaten box of chocolates or something, which again explains why she's still single, perhaps, because when you've had 37, maybe that's 36 too many. So once again, do smart men marry these women? Don't know. The jury's still out, apparently, with all the single women who are finding out that there's less and less men as they get older and older that would even look at them. So the men whom agree, yeah, don't want to marry, I already said that. Okay, too dumb to realize, justify online, and attract only chads, as always, I guess. Smart ones mostly married already, as always. Yes, regardless of how much content already exists about this that she ignores or argues against. Other point here. So then Speedy says their church analogy, mine used tape, and the more tape got used, the more it won't stick. Clever. Then she agrees, ooh, that's a good one. They always cite the pair bonding thing. Yeah, pair bonding is so terrible, I guess. I don't know. You want to be a 304 or a slunty biatch, you can die alone. Nobody's stopping you, like we've said many, many times over. Then something about the stupid theater crap, and Medic says, will there be chocolates? No, just 304s, duh. She hearted this, I don't know why. I guess Medic wants to get lucky. Maybe he will, I don't know. Probably won't get married, though. Seems to be a trend. Repost the same stuff over and over on different platforms. Proud of her worthless accomplishment. Blah, blah. Oh, this other guy, Robert, that's crazy. I'd like a 2/3 or 3/4 eaten box of chocolates. There's still perfectly good chocolates in it. So again, another one trying to be funny, and she likes that. Yeah, you can all joke about the chocolates all you want, but at the end of the day, you still are not married and don't have a family, and Elon Musk doesn't want to marry you. Or whichever wealthy billionaire you hypergamists think is going to swoop in, who would rather date a poor waitress and take her to the Bahamas or whatever instead. Okay, so Lost says, oh, this is where it came back to this other bit we already read. A priest described it as chewing gum passed from mouth to mouth until she lost all flavor. And all that was left was the saliva of other men. Yeah, I've been there, trust me. Even at a wedding. Not appealing. He even gave a live demonstration and offered a student his freshly chewed gum to get his point across. I should have brought some gum. I don't chew gum. It pulls my fillings. Yeah, and then he put like that he went to Catholic school. Her reply, so gross. Yeah, again, the analogy is not the gross part. The behavior is the gross part. So again, you say that's gross, that the priest would make this analogy or whatever, but you're, or not, probably not even the priest, probably some lower figure. But yeah, you are the used gum. Obviously, weird men only want filthy 304s. We keep telling you this, and you keep not getting it. Apparently, you heard it when you were younger, and it didn't stick. Same as that tape. So this was previous. So that was more new stuff that we got to add since, not all of it, but some of it since Tuesday or whatever. Then there was an analogy about having the time machine and, German dictator virtue signal, which of course we could do a whole video on that crap, and we won't. Number two, if you had a time machine and could do only 3 trips, I would, number 2, sabotage whoever started reality TV to keep it from existing. I'm sure she watches plenty, so ha ha ha. I think some reality TV is better than the old stuff I used to watch, but of course I'm talking very selectively about semi-educational shows like Deadliest Catch and Last Woodsman, not Real Housewives or whatever, who again aren't trad wives either. But then here, and this is dated several years ago. I don't know if I should say the year, but might rhyme with scandemic. But here, the woman who's just arguing about the chewing gum thing says number 3 is not sleep with 90% of my exes. Oh, so you mean you even regret most of those failed relation? I put the quotes in the wrong part. Failed relationships, but not because the church said so, just because you're a loser, apparently, who has bad taste in men, as we've already established. And what age would the Führer have to be when he was the baby? I don't know. Okay, I wasn't going to go into that, but yeah, you could have been with a decent man instead of a bunch of those lame dudes. But again, supposedly she keeps getting roped in because they're so clever and creative, even though we know the one guy lied to her about being creative, even though she says she dumps guys who say they're musicians all the time on principle, because the first husband was a musician, but supposedly she went out with that guy because he said he was a musician. So again, she's a liar and a hypocrite and talks out both sides of the mouth always. And this, again, I'm extrapolating out to be a typical Tinder employee, which is the whole basis of the original premise of these videos before we just started having fun with this, even though nobody watches these things. Oh, 2 people are tuned in right now. That's a miracle. Obviously loves reality TV. Okay, yeah, I put that already. Complains about AI and data centers, but could never live for 5 minutes without her phone and Claude GPT, etc. So yeah, hypocrisy on parade as always. Let's see. Marriage is just, oh, this is an old clip from before. Marriage is just committing to running errands for someone. Ha ha ha. Well, again, don't marry a loser or don't get married. We're not forcing you. Even your own dad was not forcing you to get married. And so now you still want to complain about it 2 decades later. Okay, fine. A couple years later, in the middle of the night, kind of share about gold diggers. Let's see. Oh, this was. I see. That's just me typing wrong. Okay. There was another influencer post shared about she doesn't want to date older men for money and because they're boring to listen to or something. Well, again, nobody's forcing you to date them. You want to go be a lonely lesbian or whatever. You can already do that. Nobody's stopping you. Stop wasting men's time and money and just go away forever then. It's like, what are they complaining about? She's resharing somebody else's gripe for the life she doesn't have about being so oppressed that she has to date older men for money. Okay, whatever. Let's see. Yeah, this I was kind of like, not taking it personally, but kind of trying to think about it from my own standpoint. Like, well, I'm technically old. I mean, this woman's in her 20s and she's a bombshell. So is she out of my league? I don't know. I mean, I used to know women like that when I was that age, and most of them were shallow and the relationship went nowhere, or I wasn't even interested in dating them in the first place. It's just fun to look at. Yeah, like I had a gal in high school. We were frenemies, I guess. I mean, we were friends, but we bickered a lot. And she wanted to date me, I think, but I wasn't terribly interested at the time. And we went to what do you call it, like a field trip kind of thing together. And while we were there was this other, like, same thing, blonde bombshell, except the high school version, and the long hair and the cigarettes and the jubblies out to, halfway to Hermosa. And I was just chatting with her, and afterward, like, she was like, I can't believe you were talking to that girl, like, as if, I was supposed to crawl under rocks, and be afraid of women because I didn't want to date her or whatever the dynamic was going on that day. And we were actually getting along that day, so I don't know, what, you're supposed to be the loser geek. How dare you have confidence to talk to these kind of women, kind of thing, But that girl, she was nice. you know, but we obviously didn't have anything in common. She was all into like, you know, the disco thing and the mini trucks and whatever was the cool stuff that I couldn't stand at the time. And she went and started dating this other guy that we knew, that we thought was kind of a boring dud, but he was willing to shell out the money to, you know, be seen with this impressive trophy chick, you know, on the weekends or whatever. And of course, it didn't last, you know, more than a couple of weeks before she got bored, because he wasn't a bad guy, but he was just dull, you know. So yeah, so I was thinking about her conversation. My conversations, I would think, you know, I don't know, maybe women don't like talking about boots and hats and junk that we watch on this channel, but I know I don't talk, just talking about my back pain and whatever the thing she was saying in the video, you know, and who said anything about me buying you dinner anyway? Make me a sandwich. LOL. So yeah, so Tinder gal automatically is going to take the side of this worthless 304 though, who's, you know, obviously a totally transactional, dating the men in the nursing homes kind of woman who's trying to pretend that she isn't. If you didn't have OnlyFans, you wouldn't have any money. So why you're trying to identify with this woman when supposedly you're this amazing career girl who still can't find a decent man somehow. So not, and she's young and hot. You're not young and hot anymore like that. You're crouton caboose. So you can run around and try and be a cougar all you want, but I don't think you're going to have too much success for too many years longer. Whatever, not my problem. So then let's see. Yeah, hypergamous mostly already and can't seem to rope older guys with money anyway. Also, the odds of finding a younger one whom you want, or who wants your wrinkly old booty Botox bag, you know, and he should have more dough than you. Good luck with that. Astute commenter said about the original video, she accepted the date regardless of what he put as his dating app age filter or whatever. So if she just dates for free dinner, she's still basically 304, just less worthwhile, and won't get second date. All right, some of this is my addition. Won't get second date or gifts like jewelry and such, much as they expect likely anyway. Like I said, without OnlyFans, they're not making any money. Yeah, nobody's forcing this woman to date this guy that she's now complaining about. So then back to the other Alex Grace video that this was from about a week ago. Women, because Tinder gal likes to bring up stuff like divorce statistics, but she likes to distort them to suit her narrative, which of course is total poppycock and bull crap. Yeah, women initiate the divorce mostly because of their own unrealistic spending habits now that they blame on him much of the time. This is the new trend with the hypergamy and the narcissism and such much. It's not that, you know, the guy doesn't make enough money like they want to say. It's that he doesn't make enough money to spend on her lavish, eyes bigger than her stomach lifestyle. But they're not all broke yet, these women. But they also are the ones worried that AI might take their jobs. Again, we had talked about this in previous episodes, but the Alex Grace video brought this up again. Previous jobs that they froze all the men out of these, you know, occupations already. So, and then tried to most of the time, and then, you know, created less high earning men that now they hold against these men because they want to use them as their ATM. So yeah, of course these marriages are going to fail. Even if the guy isn't a lazy bum like her ex, if we want to tie it together with that. Then he said something about feminism and stuff could or should, the world they've created. Tells them to get in the workforce, feminism lying, but this is again where he comes back and says that they might still have to get in the workforce. The trad wife thing might be a lie. So like I said, we already kind of covered that. Like I said, no one size fits all argument from me. I think that some women might still have to work, but they're not going to have a high powered career job. But I also think that people can get by with less unless if they really wanted to and, you know, don't need the new Xbox and the smartphones and all that stuff. Let's see. Tinder gal has domestic maid whom is likely an illegal alien already, but oh, he was talking about the importing the free labor bit. But yeah, likely not black. But yeah, this is exactly what Alex Grace was talking about, is that these substrata women work to service these higher strata women, and they don't think anything. In fact, in a previous episode or in some previous correspondence, there was an argument about how she does have a maid and doesn't even clean her own place, pretty much. So, because why can't I afford luxury? And that helps pay her bills. Yeah, but you're paying her wage at a lower price because you can, and you don't even feel guilty about it, was what the guy was arguing. And her argument was, well, they set their price. It's like, okay, you could still pay more if you felt really guilty about it, but you don't. Many of those career gals still single and have no children. Increasingly, again, more and more. Most of them, maybe. And they are often having bipolar issues anyway, so perhaps it's better that they don't have children anyway. Yeah, I don't remember if this is, I think he brought this up, and then maybe the end of that was me agreeing with him, but adding my own part. One may be an online aesthetic trend, but that should not diminish the idea that some women finally want to live a more traditional life. Yes, that is me 100% saying that to his bit at the end of the video. Okay, there are those whom lie about being trad wives who now call themselves femini. I don't know if that meant feminine or feminates. I believe feminates or feminine. I don't know. Which is distortion just as much as playing dress up. And plenty other younger gals, even more performative now. What's all pretty much playing dress up anyway. Yeah, I don't think it was him. I saw a video. It was somebody else's video about these. It's not just women doing it. It's men doing it too. Same as the young gal, the bombshell gal. They pretend to be rich and they go and do these fake vacations and for photo shoots and stuff. And same with wannabe pinup, those gals who dress like they're in the 40s or whatever, but except that they have 50 billion ugly tattoos now, which you didn't see back then. Or other people playing dress up might be goth girls or the live at the salon Botox variety too. Same as Miss Pampered Tinder gal, really. So in a previous video, Alex Grace, speaking of reality shows, there is a show called Farmer Wants a Wife. And unlike real farmer women like my grandparents, these gals apparently just really want to be on TV for a couple weeks because, yeah, real farmer gals don't wear heels to the pasture every day. Now, Farmer Wants a Wife, the premise is based on agrarian necessity version, like I said, versus the one that he showed in the clip about the urban, posh, luxurious fantasy Mad Men conflation lifestyle and all the lazy arguments about pill popping, vodka swilling, Peggy Drapers or whatever. Yeah, like I said, a lot of that was absurd, buffoon, revisionist crap versus my own family history. Talk to somebody over a certain age someday and find out what life was really like instead of watching a non-reality TV show and making up your own narrative. Let's see, Prada sequel. Okay, I'm not going to read that. I don't know why that's in this document. Oh, this was a meme that I thought was too long to repost on Facebook, but I copied it down here. This was from 10 years ago. Fall in love with someone who knows your favorite color and how you like your coffee, loves the way you laugh and would do anything to hear it, puts their head on your chest to hear your heartbeat, kisses you in public and proud to show you off to anyone they know, makes you question why you were ever afraid to fall in love in the first place. Okay, a little more gaslighting projection, same as that gal from high school. I was never afraid to fall in love in the first place. What are you talking about? These memes are, they're good to a point. Someone who would never ever want to hurt you, falls in love with your flaws. This is where it really turns left because, this is where you get into that codependency thing and not true love. And thinks you're perfect just the way you are. See, women want to hear this total bull crap. This meme was too long, so I didn't reshare it anyway. But then I'd have to write a whole disclaimer that nobody's going to read and think I agree with half of this crap. Thinks you are the one they would love to wake up to every day. Yeah, this is the crap I don't reshare now. So I had put back then as my disclaimer, if you ever fall in love, don't fall in love with someone like her because they'll claim to be your friend, but then they'll never even wish you a happy birthday. Let's see. We're not reading that. This is off topic. This is off topic. Like I said, Prada sequel. Yeah, we don't need. Sorry, I'm just muttering. Okay. I read that already in the last one, maybe. Oh, yeah. This is politics. So goes on date with tall musician, no personality, just looks, denim tux, sunglasses on t-shirt, has a reaction to her hobby. She rejects this guy for being a musician. She says she's behind on her own retirement savings somehow. Well, I think I mentioned this in the previous episode about your expensive hobbies are not a side hustle. You accept it or, quit, I guess. Does Botox as work investment because people discriminate against older or aging people? You mean like the girl in the video about how old people are boring, but still wants to date them for money? Or how you feel about Caucasian men, etc. Let's see. Gee, he sounds like an alcoholic. All nervous, even though there's no. I don't know. I think you would find her underwhelming if again you see the pudgy aspects of things and frumpy, whatever. Back to the bit about the $100 bottles of perfume from, was that episode 3 or 4? I forget. A guy who wants to go Dutch. She says she'd rather have ice cream or elaborate donuts than a typical first date, fancy dinner and that sort of thing. Well, maybe that's why you keep meeting broke guys who don't want to buy you dinner because you tell them you don't want dinner. I don't know. This is your awesome strategy that gets you, such great husbands, apparently, including rejecting musicians right off the bat. They think they have a shot because they're so cool, but apparently only if they lie and aren't really musicians. Because of course the musicians she meets all make less than her somehow because they're not rock stars. They just think they're going to be rock stars, and I've been in a band with several of them at least once. Let's see, the creatives, but then they get jealous and mean because of the income disparity. I would discuss that already in episode 8 or 9. Was it 8? 7? I don't know, the Sofia Vergara one. The one with Gilligan. If you look for that thumbnail, it's the Gilligan one. Have fun being single. Again, he compliments her looks, even though, she was kind of frumpy meh. Where? Gilligan was episode 8, so two times ago. See, narcissistic, has to tell him what she does Yeah. She's always given her resume. We already know that. But she thinks she's so much more important than other people doing this and that, even though in other places she tries to insist that she's humble, even though she's a braggart in her own way, and it's all passive aggressive. Yeah, yeah. He's a poser. She's lame, hypergamist still. Gets validation from rejecting him now, too. Lucky her. Why not mention how much you hate men while you're at it? Yeah, yeah. Why not be honest? Why not put her body count and her, you know, I'm a bisexual who, or wannabe bisexual who hates men. Just put it on your forehead and get it over with, or wear a name tag or something. Again, nobody's stopping you from having your other lifestyle. You don't have to do these things. But yeah, let's see. Oh, it talks about negging. Apparently, now I've never really done pickup artist kind of content on this channel, but she insists that some other woman's talking, probably early 40s, maybe even older. Some guy said he could tell the age of her age from the way her neck looked. The shoulders up will always tell the truth. And then apparently like ruined her whole day or whatever. I don't know if she was trying to hit on this younger abs guy or not and thought she could be cougarific, or if this jerk just went right up to her and said this offensive stuff out of nowhere, right? I don't know if these gym bros are, all as blunt as they're made out to be in these forums, because I don't go to gyms regularly, and I don't know many, I don't know, guys in their 20s or whatever who want to engage with women in their 40s to begin with, blah, blah, blah. But so Tinder Gal says it's called negging, and they do it to try to get in your pants. I'm not sure why that would be negging. Telling some woman she has chicken neck is not my strategy. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. Like I said, I'm not gonna try and unpack that. Yeah, I've never said stuff like that. I think, like I said, if the guy was really that blunt, it was probably because he was like taken aback that a woman old enough to be his mom thought she was also 23 or something. Same as Tinder Gal often does. It's like, no, you're not that age anymore. So you and your friends can go have your pizza all you want and wonder why those smart men are still hump and dumping you. And you don't seem to be getting married. Let's see. Lashing out for attention. Oh, yeah, wannabe diva prima donna stuff. I don't know if I'm going to read all this or not. But there was something about woman who's a model 10. Again, even that bombshell gal, I wouldn't even call a 10. Although I guess most or many would say she was probably a 9. But she looks all great on camera. I don't know how she looks in reality. Yada, yada, yada. This was just a post with a bunch of atrocious sentence structure and bad punctuation. Again, probably up all night smoking dope and lashing out. Okay, so we're not going to go into that. Gaslighting from Bear Falls Witness Commie Church. Here it is. Back to last episode, or was it episode? I think it was the last. It was more an extension of episode 8, but episode 9 we talked about how she had changed her stance to now men are just unattractive. So this is more of that. So once again, still single and your husband didn't last 10 years. So again, you're lying about the situation. Men while single. Women need to settle down and stop trying to date who they're attracted to. Okay, I don't know exactly what men are saying that, but she's trying to say what the priests were saying or whatever, in different wording. Same men married in 10 years. Why is my wife sexually repulsed by my presence? Okay, I don't think that's accurate. Again, real women love real men, and you're the unmarried one who doesn't like men. So again, you don't have to marry a man if you don't want to marry a man. That's why they have children and you don't. That's why they have a marriage that doesn't fail like yours did. And on the subject, like we were talking about with Alex Gray's video, most marriages end because of the financial problems, often her unrealistic spending habits. Again, blaming him for not being able to earn enough to buy her the crap that Elon Musk could have bought her, as if Elon Musk or whoever wanted her. Hypergamy. Increasingly buying stupid crap and taking extravagant vacations, etc., which again, we see these younger people doing it all on their credit cards and then finding themselves wildly in debt, even for trying to be impressive on a Tinder date just to hook up. What we already knew, compounded by social media and talk influencing and feminine rhetoric, etc., etc. The men you're attracted to all out in less than 8 months. Again, the smart, straight, sane ones know better. They know you're a hypergamous nightmare. There's no hunky billionaire coming. Your own marriage ended because he was disgusted with you in less than 2 or 3 years, not the other way around. We already know from your other interview about how he kept refusing you. So she complains constantly about the horrible men she dated, but not much about any of them not much content about any of them wanting to get back together with her anytime soon. None, seems like. They're all glad she's gone. They find her energy masculine more than she'll admit. Her behavior, blah, blah, blah. We already covered all this. She doesn't repost all of their ruminations about how much they miss her because clearly there aren't any. Let's see. No. Live in fairy tale fantasy land that money can solve your problems and blame men you hate and think you get younger and prettier every day still. Yeah, okay, we said all this before. So someone posted, let's see, Iron. If God does not exist, there are no objective moral prohibitions. 2, some acts are objectively morally wrong. I don't know if I'm allowed to list the one that he listed. 3, therefore God exists. Okay, so this is just a weird argument for religion, I guess. But she actually comes in, calls herself a Christian, but comes in on behalf of the atheist friends here. Suffering is real. I do not want people to suffer. Therefore, I do not cause or support suffering. Well, again, that's a lie. We know that, politically and otherwise. And if society agrees not to harm one another, if we cause harm, then there is chaos. You mean like socialism? So we can choose morality even without God because it benefits us. Then why are all the communists atheists? I believe in God anyway, but want to stick up for my atheist friends. Even when you reject men, it causes them harm, whether they deserve to be rejected or not. So again, you just rejected this other guy just because. But these are out of sequence, of course. That date happened after this post. But yeah, so, based on this kind of philosophy, I guess Iran should have nuclear weapons and illegal aliens should live in your house instead of just being your maid and working for you. Don't see a lot of these women letting illegal aliens live in their houses. Wonder why. Let's see, unrelated. Skip that. Again, we're already at like almost an hour. I wanted this to be done, but we're at page 13 out of 16, so we're nearly done. Alex Grace likes to say their complaints are their confessions, botched delivery, something about Oh, she was trying to be funny, but she just comes off as depressing. It was my takeaway. Like I said, I'm skipping some stuff here. Let's see. Oh, getting back into religion. Colton says, the culture says, my body, my choice. The Bible says we are not on our own. We were bought with a price. So this, I guess, goes back to not that original sin stuff. This is a totally different tangent. If you are a Christian at all, you should be against abortion. Again, yeah, the feminists have turned legalized murder into. I was mad at Alex Grace for using their wordage about uh, reproductive. You know, it's like there's nothing reproductive about this. It's the opposite of reproduction. Um, and most of the people pushing this agenda are not the ones getting the procedure. So there's that. But anyway, so her thing says, this is not murder because the Bible says life starts at first breath. So she cherry picks a quote that's wrong because there's other verses that say opposite things. So mind your own business about other people. She forgot the word people's other bodies. No, murder is already illegal. So that's how the law works. And the Bible is not science, duh, but bear fruit and multiply is the command. So again, it's better that you're not having any children, spinster, but the fact that you're a loser shouldn't be affecting these other people, yada, yada. Okay. And you're a liar. So plenty of passion, only for yourself, misdirected. They never. Oh, there was something about lust and kissing. Oh, that was from episode number 9. Okay. This was another Alex Grace video reference. Yeah, like I was talking about the 50s and the grandmas and all that. In his other video, I might be rereading this. I don't remember if I already covered this. Well, 60s subculture kind of ruined the whole wholesome appeal vibe for a fair chunk of society. And Gutfeld was just talking about this the other night. Have pop songs and stuff gotten worse? Yes, they have. And then Tyrus said, well, in the 70s, everything was about. It's like, yeah, he said 60 years ago, not 50 years ago. The 70s was when it really ramped up and got worse. And then the 80s, it ramped up more. And then the 90s, everything went to crap because you had the the banned music stuff that wasn't getting banned anymore, but they put the labels on the stuff and whatnot. And he was saying guys like him listened to that music and came out just fine. It's like, yeah, but you're the outlier, not the norm, apparently, now. Because obviously 13-year-olds twerking at weddings and stuff wasn't happening even in the 70s yet, as much as the dancing then had ceased being, a lot of traditional couples dancing in a, respectful, polite, trad manner and turned into shake your groove thing, get down on it. We would have to do a whole separate video. So anyway, so I was saying 60s subculture kind of ruined the whole wholesome appeal vibe for a fair chunk of society because anti-motivational substances became all the rage, and even the gals you thought were classy in college were just wake and bake losers at the end of the day very often, etc. Like I said, I think I read this already. And these films were also trying to counteract the influence of the big movies of the times with the delinquent characters like Marlon Brando and James. Yes, yeah, I read this. And even the whole Elvis issue thing, as well-mannered as he actually was, even though he had this, juvenile delinquent image. So yeah, in that film, this classic film, these people were older than my parents, but my dad in the 90s was telling me how much I missed the great years of his youth when I was growing up. He was saying, oh, it's too bad you live now and, with all this trash for pop culture kind of thing. Okay, read this already. Never dated a smoker or tried a cigarette, don't know. Hypothetical. Slunty meme. Right. And Devil's Prada. Okay, so I guess that's that then. I thought I had Nope. Okay, so sorry that the end of this was the stuff that I already read before, but that's okay because it, like I said, it ties in with the theme, and I already lost my viewer. Not that it matters. Don't know who they were or what. So as always, I have activated the Buy Me a Coffee feature if you're interested in getting me some pizza instead of taking some horrible woman out to dinner who will never appreciate you. And of course, this video isn't only for men. Women can hopefully glean something from this too with the whole boycott Tinder and dating apps argument or movement or whatever we want to call it. And three, as always, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments. I know I didn't do live feed because I knew it was going to take a long time to read all this junk, a little bit longer than I wanted. Oh, my new viewer just went away already. Well, because I'm wrapping up. Yeah, watch it from the beginning when it posts, and I don't know if it posts immediately or not. If you're really interested, whoever you were, I doubt it. But I can't just talk about boots every day. Sorry. So. Okay, so like I said, I don't know if there will be another episode of this or not. We'll see how it goes, but I never planned for there to be 10 of these in the first place. And here we are.